Yeah.
So you said something earlier about using your process to help with habits and
Mm.
letting go of habits and creating habits. And I am very good at the first day, maybe the first week of a new habit, and not so good at the rest of it. I'm quite good at beating myself up for, oh, I should be doing more of this. And, a should is never going to help you with a habit.
Mm.
Um, how how do you use hypnotherapy to help create a habit? And is there anything that you could possibly show us now that could kind of help in some way with habit formation?
Mm. Habit formation's a really interesting one. Have you come across implementation intentions?
Oh, I don't think so.
So, so the first thing I'd say is if it's a chore, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you beat yourself up, it's going to get harder. So an implementation intention is when you say, so for example, I want to start meditating. I'm going to meditate for half an hour, and then you kind of go a week and you go, oh, I haven't done my meditation. So the next one would be to say, okay, first of all, make it very easy and have a specific time and a specific place. And so you go, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to practice, I'm willing to practice so your words can help. If it's a practice and not a thing, that can make it easier. So I'm willing to practice sitting down on my nice big comfy chair for 2 minutes every day before I go and make my morning coffee. So you give yourself something really specific and ideally tie it to something that does happen every day.
Mm.
So then you don't necessarily have to say, pick a specific time, but in a specific sequence. So if you find yourself making your coffee, it's like, oh, stop doing that. I'm going to go and sit down and do my meditation beforehand. Or even better, if it follows on. So after I clean my teeth, I'm going to go and sit in a specific place in a specific way, and then I'm going to do something so easy that you're not going to miss it. So I'm going to practice it. I might not be meditating yet, but I'm going to sit for a minute. So it's so easy you don't skip it, and it's so quick you don't skip it. But what you're doing is it's the thin end of the wedge, it's the placeholder. And then your brain will start to say things like, well, 1 minute, there's no point doing it for 1 minute. And it will stop you doing it for that reason. Whereas if you said, I'm going to do it for half an hour, I haven't got time to do it for half an hour. So you kind of have to fight this kind of being aware of it and hearing it is the biggest thing. But with any habit, there is the point where you go, whether or not I feel like it, whether or not I think it helps, I'm going to do it. And that's the challenging
Mm.
place
But sometimes
because
you
you
feel it more than
realize,
others, don't you?
yeah.
So I've got a couple of things that I am trying to get into the habit. Well, three habits that I'm trying to work on at the minute. One is intention setting, actually having an intention setting practice. I was speaking with Juliet the other
Oh,
week
yes. Yeah.
in more detail about intention setting. And what I found really helpful is to sit, to do a visualization around dropping some questions like a pebble in a pond, noticing the ripples, and then doing a little journaling practice afterwards. So writing, and as you were talking about the coffee, I was thinking what I could do is I could do that little meditation while the kettle's boiling. It's only a short one,
Yep.
and journal while I'm
Whilst you're putting coffee. Yeah. And that's the other thing is attaching things to things you already do and you like doing and you wouldn't, you know, only in rare circumstances would you skip. Obviously there's some days where you go, right, it's out the window, alarm didn't go off and I've got to dash out of the house in 10 minutes. But yeah, having it there, that's something that's already attached to part of your routine. So that's the habit stacking part. it makes it a lot easier. And giving yourself a small thing to do and giving yourself time. So if you want to do, like if it was a half hour's meditation or a half hour's walk or whatever it is, but if you start small and give yourself a bit longer than you think for that to settle, because we're very prone for the shoulds to kick in. Well, I should be doing more, I should be doing this, I should be doing the other. Whereas if you go, yeah, I'm going to do 2 weeks where it's just this really easy thing, and I'm not going to worry about the next, because so we also want it to be forever, and then there's another resistance that pops up. It's like, oh, don't know if I want to do it today because I don't want to do it in 10 years. 10 years time. So you can just today, I'm going to do it for 1 minute. Just today, I'm going to do it for 1 minute, and that's your easy way in, trying to let go of all the things. So when you start thinking, I don't know if I want to do this, well, I had a good reason, so I'm going to persist. I can always let go of it later if I decide it's not working for me, but I'll persist for a bit longer. And then opening it up gradually. I know that this is a big problem. I know for me, I find this one a challenge, which is so I do Tai Chi. It's really good to practice a bit of Tai Chi every day. And if I do 5 minutes, my brain is like, oh, that was a waste of time. 5 minutes isn't really any good. And then it's like, well, how long do you want? Well, if I did this and this and this and this, it's like 4 hours. I want four. I'm not going to get 4 hours. But the 5 or 10 minutes is really powerful. And it's the brain that's telling me it's not, but the body will tell me it is. It's really calming and it puts me in a very focused place. So I have to trust that. But that awareness of the thoughts as they come up and then not believing them is the magic there. And allowing it to be for today. And if it's valuable, continue to do it. And if you think actually it's not really doing much for me, okay, I'll change it to something else, or I'll do something different, or I'll let this one go.
So one of my other habits that I am trying to get into is washing up. I know. So
Perennial one.
like something I found difficult all my life is to just, so if I've got 10 tasks to do, I will do task, I'll do a task, I'll do a task, I'll do a task, and I forget to allocate the time to clean up in between tasks.
Yes.
And so I will then get to the end of 10 tasks and go, and whether it's metaphorical, like I've got 40 tabs invariably open on my laptop, or it's literal, I've got like, a cup from this or this from that. And
I recognize this completely.
Yes, I find it very difficult to like do the boring bit after the task as I go along. And I also work with a lot of people with ADHD who find essentially adulting, as they call it, really difficult. And I think there's something about how do we maintain habits like, washing up or showering or whatever it might be before things build up. I think that could be really challenging.
So the thing that I would recommend for that is, one, you see it and you acknowledge it, and also accept it's kind of like, okay, this one might take a while and it might not be perfect all the time. Is there one small thing that I can change that will make it a bit better? So you've given me actually a big task there. Like, whereas if you can find the smallest thing that's easy to do. So I'll give you an example. For me, it was keeping track of my bank balance and what I was spending. And I'd keep all my receipts and go, I'm going to kind of do a reconcile and check them all against a spreadsheet and do all of this. And then every few months there'd be this bag of receipts that I'd throw away. And I never had any idea how much money I got in my bank account. And it was just like, oh, this is too big. So I got to the point where I was like, right, number one, let's just do a complete throw away the last 3 years where I've not been doing it. You set up the spreadsheet and you go, what's my balance now? Right, I've got my balance. Now I'm going to start. And what I did for that one was I go into work, I log onto my machine, and I set up the spreadsheet so that I had access to it from my computer at home or my computer at work. And before I do anything else, I'll check my purse and do, if I've got a receipt, I'll set it up in there. And it took a while, but I got to the point where I was keeping up. It was kind of a daily, just a short couple of minutes thing every day. It's kind of gone out of the window a bit now because my routine changed and I don't necessarily log on every day. And now I've got piles of receipts again, but I know I can do it. And when it's quick and easy, we do it more easily. So you've got things that you're doing that you're enjoying, and then there'll be time pressure as well that you've got to switch to something else and you're interested in that. And so you're bypassing the boring stuff in the middle.
So if we stay with the example of washing up, I like to cook, I like to eat, and then I like to close the door and pretend that the washing up doesn't exist. It's that washing up and drying and putting away, that bit.
Yeah. So when you've cooked and you've sat down to eat, roughly what time in the evening does that usually end up being?
Well, at the minute I do it in stages, so I will have like a little bit with my daughter when she comes in from nursery.
Yeah.
Then I'll have my own like relaxing bit with a glass of wine after she's gone to bed.
That's
So
fine.
sometimes
So,
that's close to
so,
9.
so there we go. So you've got your day, you've got your daughter back from nursery and all the things that that entails. You've got food with her, and then you've got all of her bedtime routine, and then you've got your eating. How do you feel by the time you've sat down with that glass of wine?
Exhausted.
There you go. So you're now at the point of you're exhausted, you've gone into chill out mode, and you know that that's a wind up and do more mode. So there's a couple of things you can do, which is I'm going to do some of the dishes, at least some of it, before I sit down to eat with my glass of wine, because once I sit down to eat with my glass of wine, I know I've had enough. So when I when I'm on good form, there'll be a round of washing up of the kind of the pans and stuff before I sit down to eat. But once you sit down so it's recognized, it's going, you know what, once I sit down to eat and I pick up that glass of wine, everything in my body is going. So if I want to do the dishes, I have to do it before that.
So last night I went against what my body wanted. I actually fell asleep during my daughter's sleep time routine.
Yeah,
And then I knew I had stuff to do. I woke myself up, did the stuff that I needed to do, including washing up, and then I was wired and couldn't get back to sleep. So what my body needed to do was just sleep at 8:30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so walk away from it and go to bed, and yeah. I've had many a night of being asleep on the floor in a toddler's bedroom. So yeah, no, I know that feeling. But I think this is where we can impose a lot on ourselves and go, ignore everything that you've achieved during the day. Ignore where you're at in the flow of the day and go, oh, look at me, I'm so rubbish, I didn't do the dishes again. Yeah. But the dishes are the thing that's there after everything else, and you
Yeah.
so I mean, I've got my partner and my son, but even then with that, the dishes tend to only happen if I get up to start doing the dishes. And what was I going to say around that? And there is a kind of an energy thing there. What I can, when it works, it's when I've tied it to Well, we've got a dishwasher, so that helps. But so it's easy enough. The stuff's got to be picked up off the dining table. I take it in, and that's going to go in the dishwasher. That's fine. It's a problem when the dishwasher's already full, and then that's going to run, and then you're going to pile it. And giving myself that little bit of, I'm just going to start. I'll just do a few pans. I'll just start a few pans whilst I put the kettle on to make, because we usually have a hot drink after the evening meal. So for us, it's the hot drink is the sit down. So it's like, well, I'll put the kettle on and I'll do whatever's kind of lying around, and then hopefully one of the others will come in and start drying and maybe putting away, or and then once you're doing a bit, you get, oh, well, I'll just do that other little job as well, and I'll just do that other little job as well. So once you're doing, it's easier to keep going. So that's the other way of doing it, is maybe you have your meal, you don't have your glass of wine. Your glass of wine is ready on the side, and you go, I'll just do one or two things.
I'll just
And you
wash
don't,
one
yeah,
dish.
yeah, I'll just do one or two things. Do you know, and if there's a few more, that's fine. And if it's not, it's fine. If it's there tomorrow morning, I'll do it tomorrow morning. You know, we want to start the day with a clean kitchen, but sometimes we start the day with cleaning the kitchen. You know, that's just the way life is. And being okay with either, because if you've turned it into a rod that you're beating yourself with, that's again the tensing up of it rather than the letting it go.
Yeah.
So making it easy, I'll just do a few, putting the reward after. But it's okay to recognize, it's just like, you know what, I don't have the energy tonight. That's okay. And you're allowed that. Why don't we allow ourselves that?
I suppose it's also checking in with how much because I think I am doing it for me for the most part, because I want to walk into the kitchen and to think,
Yeah.
this is all right.
Yeah.
But then there's also the shoulds and the judgments that they'll be in there as well. And it's figuring out is I should have a clean kitchen because I'm a woman, and all of those connotations, and how much it is, yeah, I want that space for me. And
Yeah.
that's sometimes, isn't it?
It is a difficult one. And I think that's you have to do a lot of inward work to discern the difference between the should voice, because again, like I said, the thoughts, we can't even hear them. We can feel them. You know,
Yes.
that there's a feeling that comes with them. Oh, I should. I'm a fail. And underneath it is, you are not a proper woman. You're a failure as a person. What would your mum say? What would your, most judgmental person say? What if something happens and I get a unexpected visitor in the morning, and it's like all those things. Yeah.